work as advisor in the PhD administration here. With me here today are the three associate deans: Anders Gustafsson, associate dean in marketing; Bård Kovas, associate dean in leadership organization; and Peng-Fei Wang, associate dean in strategy, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Also here with us today is Carlos de Souza, a PhD student at BI. He is at the Department of Marketing, and he will tell us more about life as a PhD student. I see many of you are joining. We would also like to know where you're from. You will soon now receive a poll with questions to tell us which part of the world you're coming from. It will be good for us to see. See, most are from Asia and Europe. Yes, that was very good to know. So we don't have anyone from South America or Australia. Yes, you can even from now start writing questions in the Q&A. And once all the panelists are done presenting, we will start reading your questions and give you answers. I would like to ask you to ask the questions more generally. We cannot give answers on individual applications and individual cases. So we will start this webinar with a short presentation from the three associate deans who will tell us more about each specialization. And then we will hear about firsthand experience, what it is to be a PhD student from Carlos. So Anders, maybe we can start with you.
Absolutely. I'm Anders Gustafsson, and I'm a research professor in marketing. You have already heard from Luke, who's one of my colleagues. What we do, we do research in consumer behavior, strategy, and modeling. So you can do any of those, and consumer behavior is more about trying to understand what customers do, why they act in a way they do, and strategy is more from a business perspective in terms of trying to formulate strategy based on how consumers are behaving. Modeling, it's what it says. It's more a quantitative approach. We tend to be more quantitative oriented, although we have some people that are doing qualitative research as well. What we're looking for is really the best candidates. I'm guessing you will hear that from everyone today. We have really high ambitions for our PhD students. We are targeting the best journals in the field. We are working with some of the best people in the field. So we do have high ambitions, and it is a very competitive situation. We tend to get around 100 applicants for the positions we have. We also have positions in high up in very important institutions like European Marketing Association or the American Marketing Association. So we are well connected to do good research. In terms of research, we do a lot of different things. I'm guessing you will hear some from Carlos. So I'm not going to cover his area, but we do look at things like corporate social responsibility or corporate activism, and try to figure out if it pays off or what impact it has on financial performance. We're looking at influencers, sort of from an influencer perspective. What happens when an influencer is taking a break or having a sort of some trouble? So most of the research that has been done on influencers is from sort of the audience background. We're looking at it from a sort of the influencer themselves. We're also looking at the importance of language. So you can sort of clearly figure out that we are extremely broad. In terms of supervision, as we are very ambitious as a group, we are targeting the best journals. So you will find very active researchers that are very keen on working together with you. So I'd say that you get good supervision. I'm not just saying that based on just being at BI. I've been at several places around the globe, working with people at several places around the globe, in the US, in the UK. Myself, you can sort of figure out if you're from the Nordic countries. I'm a Swede, so I've been in the Swedish system as well. So I'd say that in terms of supervision, we are doing pretty good or very good. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you will apply. Looking forward to your application. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anders. Thank you for your presentation. We can now hear more about the specialization in leadership and organization. Bård, will you tell us a little bit more?
Yes, thank you. My name is Bård Kuvås. I usually, when I speak to international people, I call myself Bard because people start wondering, why are you bored? But that's just the Norwegian pronunciation. I would say that with respect to ambitions, we, I guess most of the departments at BI have faculty that goes for the best international journals. But at least, unlike some of the other departments, I won't speak for marketing and strategy, but we also try to keep an inclusive and cooperative work climate where cooperation and knowledge sharing is the rule rather than the exceptions. So while some departments have posters when there is a top publication and only for top publications, we typically have posters for most of the publications, even those that are not at the 4 or 5 top level journals. In addition to individual supervision, we also have 4 full-day PhD seminars each year under my supervision, where we present and discuss each candidate's issues, help each other in the progress, and so forth. So, for instance, recently, one PhD candidate had a paper using bibliometric analysis, and then he learned the rest of the PhD candidates, which are now 15 or 16 PhD candidates at our department, how to do it, and several of the other PhD students just published papers on using the same methods within their field. Similarly, a student recently did a meta-analysis and then shared with the rest of the audience, rest of the PhD candidates, how to conduct a meta-analysis from start to end. And we have similar issues regarding statistical techniques that are novel and so on. With respect to topics, as we're a department of leadership and organizational behavior, of course, there are numerous topics that you can find in any organizational behavior textbooks. But for the current PhD projects, I can just briefly mention some of the topics. There is one on pay dispersion, typically looking at objective measures versus perceptual measures of pay dispersion. There is one on illegitimate tasks and work motivation. What are the antecedents of the perceptions of having to do tasks that are not legitimate as perceived? There is one project on looking at the differences and the connections between individual tasks versus more overall job motivation, including, rather than job crafting, looking also at individual task crafting. Several PhD students are working on decision-making, risk, emotions, and so on. There is one on pro-social motivation in European football, or soccer as it's called in the US, another one on high quality connections, and so on. And typically there are a mix of qualitative and quantitative approaches applied, even though I guess the majority of the PhD students are working on qualitative approaches, even though, of course, we try to encourage multiple methods and multiple research designs used in research. We are a very international research environment, and most of the PhD students, the large majority, are not from Norway. I guess there are 10 to 15% Norwegian. The rest comes from Asia, the US, other parts of Europe, and so on. We do have competitive candidates, and perhaps the most obvious sign on that is that they regularly take part in doctoral consortia at the annual meeting of the Academy of Management, typically for the human resource management or the organizational behavior decision, where I also have leading roles. Even though one of our key performance indicators are that our candidates should get jobs in the US. My experience is that most of the candidates that have spent 4 years in Norway actually want to keep on living in Norway and try to get a job in Norway, and or maybe the rest of the Scandinavian countries, including Denmark and Sweden. And finally, the faculty do cooperate, publish together with top international scholars, and these scholars are also frequently used as committee members in the pre-doc defense, and of course in the final dissertation defense committee. So as with Anders, I'm looking forward to receiving your applications. If you do, and if you're accepted, I would say that our dean from the Netherlands spoke very truthfully and nicely about the environment in Norway. Thank you.
Thank you, Bård. This is very useful. And now we can hear more about the specialization in strategy, entrepreneurship, and innovation from Peng Fei.
Yes, actually, I prepared slides. If you can see my sharing screen. Can you? Excuse me. All right. Okay, so first off, I'm Pengfei Wang, Associate Professor from Department of Strategy and Entrepreneurship. First, I want to share the topics covered in my department. So there are mainly 3 areas. The first one is on IB, is the traditional research area in the department. So we analyze the FDI, foreign market entry and exit, global value chain, and also emerging markets. So along this line, we mainly target top journals like JIPS or GSJ. And the second area is the strategy and the organization theory. So we cover many classic strategy topics like strategy analysis, merger acquisition, corporate governance, and positioning. Recently, we also have some faculties working on the topics of competition, collaboration, and the institutional theories. Our colleagues have published in leading journals like ASQ, MJ, SMJ, and Management Science, and so on. The third area is entrepreneurship and innovation. So we use both qualitative and quantitative methodologies to analyze innovation and the entrepreneurship process. So we have a group of qualitative scholars focusing on the process of innovation. So how innovation is developed within companies or across companies. We have a group of scholars, quantitative scholars, using micro registry data or patterns to explore the performance of innovation, or actually the antecedents of innovation. So recently, we also have colleagues working on those popular topics like crowdfunding, digital platforms, and new venture accelerators. So those are three main areas covered in my department. Our current PhD candidates, we have quite a diverse team. So we have candidates from Norway, of course, but also from Germany, China, UK, Vietnam, Portugal, and the Netherlands. So pretty diverse team of PhD candidates in the existing cohorts. Our recent PhD had a very nice placement in the job market to Rotterdam School of Management, CBS, HEC Montreal, NTNU in Norway, and so on. So we expect our PhD candidates to do high quality research and be able to place themselves in top universities in Europe or even in the US. So that is our ambition. That is my simple introduction about the department and our PhD program. So I look forward to your application as well.
Thank you, Peng-Fei. This was very good. Now we can hear about how it is to do a PhD at BI. Carlos, would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Perfect. I was thinking what I should highlight in terms of PhD life, because there's so many things going on. But I guess I can highlight three things that for me is the most important. The first one is the freedom that you have in the PhD journey. So you have a lot of freedom to choose the topic you're going to research. What's a big asset, right? Because you're going to spend 4 years doing research. So it's important that you really like what you're curious about. You should be curious about, right? And you're also free in terms of method. We have many different professors doing qualitative, doing quantitative, doing experiments. So it's very open, the method you're going to use, right? You don't have to follow any specific guideline in this sense. And also you have a lot of freedom to match with the supervisor in the marketing department in the first semester when you start the PhD. They have a roadshow when the professors present their interests, and then you see the one that matches with you best. And I guess it's very interesting because you can really connect with them. It's a very flat hierarchy. So the professors treat you not as a student, but as a junior researcher. What's very good, right? Because they really encourage you to do your best. And I guess it's a very important thing. The second aspect that I consider very important is the support. Just not just the financial support, that's very important, but also the guidance the professors give to us. They have a lot of experience guiding students, and they're very supportive. So you build together. Of course, you are the manager of your own PhD, right? So you need to be, you have to have discipline, you have to be self-driven, but they're very supportive in terms of giving you ideas, in terms of giving you theories to support your research. So I think that's very important. And of course, later on to find a job, right? They also help you in the transition from PhD life to professor life, right? And the third aspect that I consider very important is the PhD team. We are 90 students in BI across departments, and it's very international. We have very close contact with other departments as well, because we share some courses together. And in the Department of Marketing, we are 13 students. We are, I guess, 10 different countries. So in my office, for instance, I share office with someone from Siberia, Russia, from Bangladesh, and from Greece. And you're 4, we use different alphabets. What's very interesting, right? To have 4 different backgrounds in terms of bachelor. Like I'm a journalist, I have a colleague that is psychologist, another colleague is economist, another colleague is business administration. But funny enough, you have all the same interests in terms of research. So we have from different countries, different type bachelor backgrounds, but we also can share a lot of interest in common with a lot of things outside BI. It's not just about studying, right? Because the team is very international. So we try a lot to do things outside as well, in terms of trips together, have dinner together. In terms of research, I can talk about the Department of Marketing as well. It's very diverse. So we have people studying drones, right? Some people studying meat consumption, business to business, like purchasing in the government setting. We have people, CSR is a big topic in the department as well. So it's very broad. I mean, people have very different interests. Of course, you have some intersections sometimes, what's very interesting, but we also have the opportunity to discuss with professors in the corridor. We have these seminars once a year that you can present our research and you get feedback that's very valuable. So I guess that's the most important aspect I would highlight for now.
And how was it for you? Can you tell us where you come from? How was it to start at BI, to move to Norway?
Yes, I'm originally from Brazil. As I just told, I'm a journalist, right? I had a career as a journalist in Brazil, and then I moved to Norway. I had my master in Norway. So the transition to the PhD life was not that hard, right? Of course, as Luke highlighted in the video, is very different from industry job level, right? Because in the PhD is much more about being curious, right? To search for answers, to not give up in the first problem you have, right? Because there's a lot of challenges during the PhD in terms of developing your idea, find the relevant questions for society, find the relevant method, data collection, all challenges, right? But if you're curious and you have discipline, I guess it's possible to go further.
So you would recommend everyone watching the webinar today to apply for a PhD position?
I always tell Luke's my advisor at the PhD, that's a privilege. To be honest, is a privilege because the team, the professors are very nice, very supportive and very smart people, right? You go to the meeting and you get energy from them because you always learn something, right? You spend 1 hour, 2 hours discussing, you always learn. And I love that. I'm a journalist, so I'm curious by nature, right? So I spend hours reading and analyzing data and stuff. And for me, it's a pleasure. So I don't feel like working.
Yes, that is great. We can now move to the question. I see that some of you got their questions answered, but I think that maybe some of them we can repeat and answer them in form so that everyone can hear. I'll start reading. The first question is, can I apply if I graduate in 2023? You can apply if you are in your last year of your master's. The application deadline is 1st of December, as most of you know, and the expected start is in August 2023. As if you're a master's student now and you would like to apply, it will be expected that you finish by summer, somewhere in 2023. Then what are the requirements? Okay, I think the question disappeared. Okay, what are the requirements for the documents we apply with? A minimum of pages, structure, specific points to present. I guess this question is about the project proposal. Can some of the associate deans answer? What is the content of the project proposal? What do you expect? Bor, can you reply?
Yes. First, I've never seen, and I'm being the associate dean for 15 years, so I'm soon stepping down. But I don't think I've seen one proposal that actually ended up as planned. So we typically use the proposals as a way to see whether the academic language is okay, that the applicant is familiar with the literature, that there is how should I put it, a realistic way of conducting the study within 4 years' time. So no one is forced to do what they write they are supposed to do or think they're going to do in the proposal. So it's basically that we try to figure out whether they have the basic skills needed to go through a PhD.
Yes, and when it comes to the question about minimum of pages, I think we write in the announcements 5 to 10 pages approximately.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, 5 is probably not enough, of course, but I would say the typical is more like 8 to 12 pages, including references and so on.
And I can connect what you were saying about the project proposal will change once they start in the PhD program. We get a lot of questions about supervisors, if students should look for supervisors now. Can you answer that question?
I'm happy to answer, and I think Thomas just did. For us, you will be assigned a supervisor. We have to. That's sort of according to BI rules. So you will get assigned a supervisor, but with the idea that you are very free to switch. So it's more like somebody taking your hand when you come and show you around. But hopefully you will interact with a lot of other professors and find a match that you think is good. And I would encourage you to sort of switch supervisor if you feel that the chemistry is not there. It's not a big thing, honestly. So don't try to find a supervisor yourself first. You will be assigned one, at least in marketing.
Same with our department.
Yes, the same here.
Yes, now there is a question here for strategic entrepreneurship innovation department. Do I have to pick one of the topics that you presented now, or are you open to new research topics? I want to work on digital and strategy. Does that fit, or do I have to adapt my application to the topics of research that you presented?
Is it for me, right? Oh,
yes, it's for you.
I didn't. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, the topics covered by the department are not, let's say, I mean, I didn't cover all of them, so it is possible that some colleagues are working on the topics that I didn't mention. So it's still possible to but of course it's important to do some topics that are covered by my colleagues, right? Otherwise we cannot actually really supervise that. If you really do something about accounting, then we can really supervise you in my department. So it's important to find a topic that is covered by my colleagues. Therefore, it's useful to go through our website to see the profile of my colleagues, even though you don't need to contact them, but you just get a sense of what my colleagues are doing to see if you can find a potential, let's say, colleague working together on the topic, for instance, of digital and strategy. Yeah. But actually, I do think there are several colleagues in my department working on digital and strategy. Yeah.
That is great. Then there's a question, what's the background of previously admitted candidates in terms of published and GPA? About a grade point average, I can reply, we have a requirement that you have average B. But I'm a little bit not sure in terms of published, do you mean if a person should have published something before applying? Can you tell us about that? Let's say, Anders, is it common that you get applicants from students that have previously published, or do you take in also master students that have just finished?
We get applications from people that have published, but I think most of, or I don't know. Well, yeah, some has published before, but that's not really the rule. So you don't have to have published at all, and it's more about sort of being able to write something and think creatively rather than having publications under your belt. We actually last time I think we had a professor from another country applying. He had like 37 publications, and he didn't get accepted to our PhD program, needless to say. So you don't have to publish. It could help you in terms of writing the proposal if you have, but no.
Nice, I understand.
That's what the candidates are supposed to learn.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, then we have a question. Is there any second step for the application, interviews and so on? Also, application deadline is December 1st. What about the announcement of the acceptance students? When will you announce the results? I think here is best that all three associate deans tell briefly about the process. Do you have like approximation when the interviews will be? Selection of candidates, when people will hear from you? We can start with you, Anders, and then Boyd, and then Peng-Fei.
It's sort of a standard answer. It depends, I guess. Last time we had over 100 applicants, and we want to screen all of them. The screening will be done by several people. So I mean, I have my expertise, and Luke, that you saw the video on, he has other types of expertise. So we will be more than one person that is screening everything, and that will take time, of course. And then after that, we will have a smaller group. We have a leadership group at the department that will make a selection of maybe 12, 14 persons, somewhere around that area, and those will be called for interviews, and we will hopefully end up with 4 really good ones. My guess is that the screening, the initial screening, will be done before Christmas. The interviews will be done somewhere January, February. That is my best estimate, but I cannot say for certain.
Yeah, we pretty much have the same process, but this is the first year where we have December 1st as the application date. So typically we have had February 1st. So if we don't get enough good candidates in the first round, we will probably have a second announcement, and then these decisions and the process will be postponed a bit. But in addition to what Anders said, we also do, I mean, we're the Department of Organizational Behavior, and my department head is an expert on personality. So we also do personality tests with Big Five, not in order to include people, but maybe to question how people, if they're higher on neuroticism and some other personality factors that may be an issue. We discussed that during the interview.
Yes, so we also want to move as fast as possible, but we will do 1 or 2 rounds of interviews. But it's hard to give exact dates for that. So, but we'll try our best to move as fast as possible.
Yes, thank you. Then our next question is, what is the PhD coursework duration? I can reply that in order to do a PhD, to finish, you have to have 60 ECTS with a European scale, 60 study points. And what is common, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is to take these courses, most of the courses in the first year and some courses in the second year. And we have a course structure with obligatory courses and electives. Electives can be also taken at other institutions. Okay, then some of the questions are similar. Could you apply to more than one department? Yes, you can. You just have to submit 2 separate applications in the portal. Then let me see, I have developed a research proposal on assessing the impact of menopause on working women and blue and white collar occupation, and the design, work design inventions to support them. Can I apply with this topic in organizational behavior and HRM? I'm not sure what that is. Do we have?
That's human resource management.
Yes,
So yes, we would typically cover that kind of topics, but also guiding in terms of the type of theories used. So if it was from a biological viewpoint, that would be less interesting. That would typically be at a medical institution rather than at BI, but that is a relevant topic, yes.
Yes, let me then see. Then we have a question. Hi everyone, thank you for this opportunity. Could you please tell me about the GRE language requirements? You don't have to upload a test for a language test. You probably read somewhere on the website the GMAT and GRE tests. They are not relevant for these specializations. We might require them for the announcements in finance and economics, which are next year.
Yeah, and for some of our candidates, they accept to take an English class, especially if their spoken skills, the verbal English skills, needs to improve somewhat. They have accepted, and these are courses that are provided by BI and paid by BI. So for some candidates, we do require that they accept to take a course in English.
Yeah. Then we have a question about the teaching part. Is teaching a mandatory part of the PhD program? Yes, we have. So if you're accepted in the PhD program, you get a 4 years contract, where 3 years are only PhD education and research, and 1 year is something that we call duty work. Maybe some of the associate deans can tell what is common at their department. Anders, maybe you can tell more.
It's very common that you're assigned as a teaching assistant. I would say that this is critical. Don't do a PhD in 3 years. You need time to mature. So you need 4 years. And the other part is that if you want to be hired at the university anywhere else, you do want some teaching experience. So I would sort of say that technically maybe it's possible, but I wouldn't do that. You will be asked. It's pretty much obligatory that you do your teaching assistant or you have some administrative chores. And please think about teaching as a good thing to learn. That's sort of what I would say.
Yeah, and we also have teaching courses specialized for PhD students, where they get feedback from experienced teachers and so on. And in addition, I would say that we, at least as the associate dean, I try to make sure that we don't see these 25% of duty work as labor, but more as development. So typically the first or second year, I try to make sure that they don't have to teach if they don't want to teach, so that they can do it later in the process where they can teach about their topics in their PhD to begin with and so on. And not too much grading.
Yes, it's the same here. So most of our PhD candidates are working as a TA for some courses, but not so heavily loaded at all.
Okay, then I have a question. Will my salary be enough to live in Oslo? I think this is maybe a question for Carlos. It's best to reply, that has experience.
Yes, it's more than enough. When you sign the contract, you have agreement that you have a small raise every year. But since year one, you are able to pay an apartment around BI and live quite comfortable.
And you also get, as far as I know, support at the beginning.
Yes, if you live abroad, and you come to Norway, and because then BI will be your first job in Norway, you get some discount in taxes. So your salary is a bit higher in the first year to help with accommodation. And the BI also helps in terms of conferences, so you don't have to pay from your own pocket. They also help you in terms of like buying books, and it's 2,000 NOK per year. So every year you have 2,000 NOK more. And you can print in the department, so you don't have to spend from your own pocket for this kind of things. What's very important.
And you get refunded membership in academic associations such as the Academy of Management for our department, and I would also say that the salary is competitive with an industry's salary, at least in some industries, maybe 10-15% lower, but you should be able to live on it, depending on where you want to live. In Oslo, there are, of course, as in most cities, some very expensive areas, but yeah.
If I can just stress, I mean, I don't know if you sort of caught what Luke said, but you are hired by BI. It's not a scholarship. You are hired by BI, so you're an employee, and comparing with any other place I know, including Sweden, the salary is much higher at BI. So you're treated as an employee. You have all the rights that an employee has, and the salary. I mean, it's not very, very high, but it is high for an education.
And of course, maternity or paternity leave, so the same legal rights as other employees.
Also pension, insurances, there's some private insurance that we have at BI. As well. Then I have a question. Can I apply with the integrated reporting research proposal in strategy or marketing and get accepted even the subject is not covered by the department and switch the research subject later on?
I would say you can, but I mean, again, it depends on how well you write. So I mean, I don't think anyone has done exactly what they said in the proposal. Then I would encourage you not to be honest, because you learn so much even the first year, and you get new interests. So don't stick too much to that proposal. That we don't expect you to work on it, and you will mature. You will learn a lot of new stuff. So let that proposal go once you're accepted, if you're accepted.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yes, the same here. But to be honest, I don't think this specific topic is covered by my department. So we may not understand what you are writing. That is the issue. If we don't have any qualified colleagues to evaluate you, then it's a bit uncertain. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's well written, I think it's fine. And I'm the current editor for one of the biggest journals in the field. I read about 3,000 manuscripts per year. I can promise you I don't understand everything there, but I can judge if it's a good, well-written manuscript.
And I think that's relevant for topics and subfields in general, that there is a lot of meta knowledge out there. So theories that can be applied on different types of topics, even though we don't have scholars being particularly specialized within a particular topic.
Okay, then there's a question, would I receive visa for 4 years, or is it renewable every year? Carlos, do you know more about that process of getting residence permit in Norway?
Yes, it's 4 years, so you don't have to renew every year. And also, once they BI hire you, they have an agency to help you to move to Norway, and they're very supportive. So they give you step by step what you have to do and when you have to do. So it's quite smooth, the process. It's not hard at all.
So you get support also about residence permit application document.
Yes. This agency, they have a lot of experience and it moves fast. So usually in some weeks you already have the visa in hand and then you can come.
Great. Then we have a question that I think we covered. Can we apply to two departments with the same subject of research? As far as I know, there is some overlap between the departments, but
yes, of course. I mean, Anders mentioned corporate social responsibility. That's been an HR issue for 50 years almost.
Yeah.
So
we,
yeah,
we do innovation as well. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
yes. Then we have two questions actually about an MBA, and this is also a question that we get a lot by email. The entry requirements for PhD state Master Science, Norwegian Master Science or equivalent. And we are very well aware that it's different types of education, different length of master's education, also different grading system. We usually consult the national agency for education if we are in doubt. We also verify your documents. Does any of the associate dean would like to reply how you see applications with MBA instead of a Master Science?
I screen a lot of those. And MBAs with a research-based thesis is fine. But most MBAs doesn't have a research-based, typically more like a case-based, without using research methods and so on. And then you will probably not be accepted. I don't know, Anders or Peng-Fei, if you have.
No, I mean, it's a similar situation.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we are spoiled by the number of applications we get. So we go for the good ones. Sorry, no offense meant, but if we have a choice with somebody that has a some type of training in research already, it gives the applicant or the candidate a head start. It's nothing is written in stone for sure, but we are spoiled, so we pick the best ones.
Yeah,
Yes.
and when you talked about the grades, an average B is sort of a minimum, and of course, the better the grade, the more probably the application would end on a short list.
Yeah, and again, sorry about this, but honestly, we are spoiled. So it's a matter of being able to select among the best ones. So, but don't do try. I mean, do submit an application.
Yes, the same here. I think we are looking for candidates who has a potential to do high quality research, academic research. So that is our goal.
Yeah.
And if you have the right attitude, I mean, we can train you. We do train you. So it is more sort of give us a good impression of who you are and your capabilities, and we will evaluate you. And I mean, that's the best thing about this job, to be honest. I'm not going to sort of, now I'm sort of getting away from the script, but the best thing about this job is to sort of see you guys develop. It's such a pleasure. You wouldn't believe how much gratitude or benefit or whatever I mean, I get from seeing you guys grow as PhD students.
How do you see work experience from the industry? Is that a plus when people apply for a PhD position? A big plus?
To some degree, but if you have waited too long,
Exactly.
It could be problematic because research moves fast, and what you have learned in your basic education may not be relevant anymore. So we didn't. I mean, yes, it is a plus, but not 32 years of work life. That would probably not be helpful.
I understand. Then we have a question. So practically, if I get accepted, can I bring any dependents with me to Norway? Yes, we have many of our PhD students have a family partner and kids. Maybe Carlos, you know some of them. You can tell us more about that.
Yes, it's possible. In the marketing department, we have a colleague that came with his wife, and it's totally fine.
Yes, but
and kids. We do have candidates with kids as well.
And also some get kids during their PhD.
Of course.
That's not uncommon.
Too many.
Yeah. That's
No.
They're
Erase that one.
They're productive at all levels.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have a question. If someone is working in the academic sector already, teaching in a higher education, will that be considered as a plus in terms of their acceptance?
I would like to know why they are leaving an existing PhD study, of course. So it could be a plus. It could also be a minus.
I mean, I agree to some degree. It depends on if it's a teaching position. You will benefit from that later on when you have completed your PhD. Is it a plus when you apply? I don't. It's not a minus. I'm not sure it's a plus. So it's more about your application. If you have teaching experience, if you have experience from business, of course that's good, because that means that you're also mature to some degree. But teaching, especially when you go out on the job market, is a fantastic plus.
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought if the candidate already was in a PhD program.
No, I said working in academic sector
Okay,
already,
yeah.
Teaching in higher education. I would.
Yeah, but
this is lecturer, senior lecturer.
Yeah, but that's typically a plus, I would say. But again, depends on the application, the rest of the application.
I think that the same person wrote again, relating the previous question. I do not have a PhD. I'm teaching after my master's degree.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, then we have a question that I'm not sure if I understand, but maybe some of you do. Is it necessary to finish the RP before applying?
Research proposal, I guess.
That, yeah. Well, yes, you have to submit everything by 1st of December. And then it's when the application portal closes, and then you cannot upload anything. The only exception that we do is for the ones, what I said at the beginning, the ones that are doing their masters now and they are last year of their masters now. They can send final diploma and the final transcript of records when they are done closer to summer. Speaking of which, with the same question.
Yeah, but can I just add that if you're accepted, you will, and you're not finished with your Master of Science studies, you will get a conditional acceptance. So based on your final grades, that is minimum and average of B.
Yes, that's correct. And many of you send us applications by email. We will not consider those. You have to go in the portal and upload the documentation that are required, that are written there in the text. So read the announcement one more time and upload what is written there, what is relevant for the position you're applying. I know many wonder about the diploma supplement. That's a typical European document. It's a requirement for every European university to issue a diploma supplement after a student is done with their master, which is an explanation of the education. We are aware that not every university has this, especially the ones outside Europe. So any information that you have about your institution, about your degree, you can send it in a document or a link from your university. We understand that. And in the same, I can add one more thing when we are around this. It's also, we get a lot of question about the verification document. You will see it in the announcement page. That is the document that you as an applicant fill out. You don't need anyone else to sign or stamp it. That is just allowing us to check and to verify your educational background, your master's degree and your bachelor degree, if you're chosen. So we can wait if there come any more questions. We are 4 minutes late. My master grades and finishing with honors, will that get me more chances to get accepted?
Yeah, I mean, if the grades are good as well. But then again, we typically look at what does it take to have a Master of Science with an honors, which may differ from country to country, actually. Yeah, so.
And as I understood, you also look at the whole application, not only transcript of grades, and that's it. But
Of course.
project proposal, the background, the school they come from.
And the motivation letter as well, of course.
Okay, then we have a question, strategic department. That's for you, Peng-Fei. How many candidates will you admit?
I think we have 4. Yeah.
Yep. That is the same. There were also some questions I remember, but I think they were answered by chat, but I can mention it. We also get questions about economics and finance. We will not admit students next year in these 2 specializations. That will be the year after. So then that means the application period will be autumn 2023 with start summer 2024. So it will not be this year. Yes, we have 3 minutes left and there are no more open questions here. Does anyone want to say something before we wrap it up? No, I think we answered everything. Yes, thank you for everyone participating, watching us. We recorded this webinar and we will upload on the website and it will be available until the application deadline. So I want to remind everyone that the application deadline is 1st of December. So remember that date. And if you have any more questions, please send an email to phd@bi.no. and you will get a reply to your question. So thank you for everyone watching us, and thank you to the 4 panelists for joining us today and answering all the questions. It has been a great experience, and good luck with your application. Goodbye.
Good luck.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Right.